flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We can start down with Terry for roll call.
Terry Lincoln.
Logan Johnston. Scott McVeigh.
Beverly Fickus, Pam Beaver.
Paul County General Manager with me, Morgan Rao, and the distribution supervisor.
And our videographer. Okay, this is open time. I don't read it very often, but I am going to tonight, just so we set good precedence. Pursuant to Government Code 54950, persons wishing to address the Board of Directors on matters not listed on the agenda should notify the Secretary prior to the start of the meeting. To speak at this time, and for any item listed on the agenda, raise your hand. Not listed, it should say, it does say listed though. When recognized by the chair, proceed to the podium and address us, and we will quietly listen. Is there anyone who wants to address the board at this time?
I guess I'll announce.
Would you
our
please?
next meeting. Yeah. Our next meeting will be April 23rd at the Community Center.
The email said the 24th, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's the fourth Thursday. Everybody got a calendar?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the email said the 23rd.
Yeah, it should be on the Thursday.
Email said the 24th.
Does it?
Yeah, I just looked at
Is
it.
that a Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Of April? Yeah,
Yeah.
24th.
Well, we've applied for those mini grants and we're hopefully going to be able to work on elderly people's and people that are handicapped homes to a total of $500 each, removing brush and limbs and trees and whatever, and making it a little bit fire hardened. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Anybody else?
Well, excuse me.
You go right ahead.
6 p.m.?
Yes,
Okay. Just want to make sure we'll put it in the newsletter.
thank you.
If, go ahead, come up to the podium, please.
I have a situation where my brother's disabled, living on Social Security, and, what happened was, there was on one of the biddings on our acreage, where you couldn't see it, and it was like under a bush. Well, it split on the bottom, and it started leaking, but it didn't come up. What it did is it followed the rocks to the creek. And it was the winter time, so we weren't aware of anything. So it's not like we neglected to fix the pipe, it was just, it wasn't visible. And the only reason we found it was it froze this day, and a mist come up. A little bit of a mist. My brother went out there and looked, he dug it up, and now we have a bill of $2,000. And that's just unheard of. That's just a huge bill. And for him being disabled, and now they made a payment arrangement for $64 a month, but when you're disabled, that's quite a bit.
Okay.
And I'm wanting to ask you guys if there's any way that you can help him with that bill. I'm his payee, and it's extreme. Like $2,055.89.
Is that for 1 month, sir, or is that multiple?
That was 1 month. 1 month was 14 something.
How many?
That was he had already been on a payment plan prior to that, because things are tough right now. Money's really hard to come by when you're on a fixed income. So he had to get a payment plan, which I don't have it with me, but it was like $400, $500 payment plan. And then you would be paying $35 a month or something like that. And now we have a $2,000 bill. And I'm wondering, is there any way that you can find it in your heart to help him with that?
I think the board would probably agree that we'll direct our general manager to look into the situation and report.
Yeah,
back
the
to
general
us.
manager did look at it, and for some reason, he didn't want to help at all. He didn't want to help. Was that you? well, you didn't wanna help us at all, just to arrange your payments. And that's just unreal. I mean, he's in a position where it makes a difference whether he eats right.
So, through the chair, I think we would like, this is good that he brought it to here. As you know, I do not have authority to do anything when there's water that's gone past the meter. So, based on this, you can give me authority, but he does need to fill out a protest form that I believe my staff gave to you. I don't know for sure, but if not, it's online or we get.
It was done, given to me, I asked.
Okay, so that way we can go through the process and we can figure out what we can do. And I know that my staff did mention to me this issue, and Lee, we could also try to reach out. Lee Walk is not available right now, so. But regardless, that's the best way to handle it. We will also, based on him being here in your direction, we'll suspend any, late fees and all that other kind of stuff until we get it resolved.
And I'm just wondering if there's any way you can help with some of the bill. I mean, it's unreal. It just happened to be in a position where we couldn't see it. I'm a plumbing contractor, so if I would've seen it, I would've fixed it. When we seen it, I fixed it. But the bill was already absorbed. I mean, it was already done.
We're gonna follow the process, allow the general manager to look into it, and report back all the details, so that we
Okay.
know everything.
I
I
did go,
can't really answer you right now.
I did send a letter. I wrote something down and she said she took it to you.
That's fine. They can't make a decision here,
All right.
it's not on the agenda.
You look it over, please.
Her advice was for you to come here,
Yeah, maybe my
which is
number.
good, and then that way they can direct me to do more.
And you do need to make out a protest,
I didn't know there was one available.
yeah.
I did fill out, some paperwork, and I think it might have been a protest.
Yeah, I don't know,
We directed the general
All right, can
manager
I
to
give
look
you my
into
phone
it.
number and you'll be able to get back to me on it? I appreciate it.
Anybody
I
else?
appreciate you guys.
You're welcome. If there is no other public comment, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does any board member have any one of the items they wish to pull out for further discussion? No, all right.
Well, hang on.
Well, no further discussion. I'll get to collect.
I appreciate your help.
If that's okay. If you have something you want to pull out.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
One second here, please.
You can go ahead, go ahead.
Thank
When I have an issue, I'll say something.
Thanks very much.
You guys have a good
Are
day.
there any questions or corrections in the consent agenda? No? No?
So then, I just want to make a quick comment on the payables, since it's obviously a pretty significant amount, mostly because there's, we made a payment, we received a reimbursement from Cal OES FEMA that allowed us to make a payment on our loan with RCAC, which is like the first item at $535,999. So obviously, we don't normally have payables of $1,300,000. So just in case it wasn't seen, and then later on, there's actually a payable to our contractor. And then just real quick on the profit and losses, the bottom line is skewed because of our infamous expenses to the grants. So for example, the January, we have a positive amount of $220,505. That's mostly because in January, the property tax came in of $247,000. And same thing with February, we actually have a positive amount of $22,191 when you take out the grant.
Correct.
Just for the record,
I appreciate that. It's not readily transparent if you just look at the P&L statements. January says 1.5 million net gain, but we have to then draw out. I did have one question if we can. On that's line 80,013, the RCA loan for that. It's being lumped in with the invoices we're submitting for reimbursement, yet that's actually a cost to the district, and it will not be reimbursed through the grant. So I wasn't sure if there was some way to make that a little more transparent or not.
noted.
Okay.
And
Anything?
just real quick though, for the board's perspective, the RCAC loan did have a fee, an origination fee.
Yep.
That is scheduled to be reimbursed by the state. I think it was $30,000 or whatever the fee was. The interest is outside of that.
Correct. It's still a huge benefit to the district,
Yeah.
in spite of paying out the interest. Anything else from any board members on the consent agenda? Entertain a motion then? To approve?
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as it stands.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Old business, new business.
Yeah, on the Bureau account reconciliation, we actually did receive something from, actually from December of last year, and we've dealt with that. The old 2022 and 21 reconciliation, we haven't received any updates. As mentioned before, Elizabeth Hadley, the new area manager, currently scheduled for the May 21st meeting to come and speak to the board. And then the rest of the Bureau stuff is under the item C, which is our initial allocation, our Bureau rate sheet.
That's informative, so I guess we go on to 6B then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You might recall in November, we brought Morgan Rao, our distribution supervisor, before you to provide a little update. At the time, that was at the end of a very long 4-month stretch of leaks constantly occurring. And so, as mentioned, I thought it would be valuable to basically quarterly bring our distribution supervisor to give a little report, a little enhancement to the operations report, and have you ask questions. And then next month, I'm planning to bring Bill back as we did in December, and also to give an update on some of the stuff that we're doing on the treatment plant based on that report we got. So with that, I'll hand it over to Morgan.
All right. Hello, everyone. So we did get a new current employee, which I'm very thrilled about. He started on the 3rd, so that makes it 4-person crew, which is very nice. We ended up so far
3-person crew plus you.
3-person crew. So we've had 6 emergency leaks since the beginning of this year, which has slowed way down. We've had 4 planned leaks, which we were able to do with our 500-gallon ditch rich back trailer that we have, which we're very thrilled about having. We received that on March 4th. So far, we're able to do quite a few curb stops, which helps us because when people aren't paying and we can't lock them out, we don't have a recourse. So this is nice because now we can get some of these changed out. We also got a grant from JPIA for a walk behind concrete asphalt saw, and we hopefully will see that by April. We've doing some organization in the yard. We're looking at hopefully getting rid of some trees and, setting up some aggregate bays so we can have some for our sand and our gravel, keep it all separated and be able to cover it for winter time. So that we're trying to get that all done out there. We are doing good on the meter reads. We went from a 365 manual read, our last list that was 365. We got it down to 267, and everything seems to be going a lot smoother. So we're very pleased with it. I also wanted to address the Hope K hydrant. I know that it sticks out like a sore thumb over there off Olinda, so I just kind of wanted to address that situation. For one, I just kind of want to wait for it to dry out because it is in that ditch line. It's going to make it really hard to try to de-water. But our main problem we're having is that hydrant line it's only a 4-inch line coming off our main. So we're going to have to replace that hydrant line, which means replace that valve, which means we might be looking at a new saddle, which might end up, having contractor help on that one too. So that's that, and we also have the issue with Olinda lacking working valves, so we're looking at, it might be a big shutdown. So I have not forgotten about that Hope K hydrant. I just, it's gonna be quite a big process, and that whole area is really saturated with water. So I'd like it to dry out some too before we address it.
But you are putting a valve in there, so at least we have the beginning of valves.
Yes, and I'm hoping that if we, when we get to that main, we can find a port stop and we can shut it off there, even if we've got to re-tap in another saddle. It might be easier and just keep that port stop shut off. So we're gonna have to come up with a good plan, because we're probably gonna have to put a new saddle in for a 6-inch, because we need a 6-inch for that hydrant to stay to code. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
But we'll be replacing the hydrant also, is that correct?
Yes, we have that already.
Oh, you have it already?
We do, we have that already, we have everything ready to go. It's just that line's only a 4-inch and we can't put that hydrant on that 4-inch. So
Is that something that Mr. Watley could look into, maybe some grant funding, even small local like that to cover the cost? I know Wind River's working on community grants right now.
Yep. I pointed it out to them when I took them on a tour of the district, but I will follow up and remind them.
yeah, so. I think that's about it. Do you guys have any questions for me, or?
A little update on the transponder register installation.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, we're on our last manual read, so we're getting as many transponders that we can get switched out. We only have 267 left, and we're gonna have done probably by the end of next month, I'm hoping.
So, of how many do we have actually in the shop?
We probably still have a good 600, probably at least. Probably a good 600, and what we're doing is we're getting lists as we go, all these autos that, don't pick up. Then we have that list, so then we can go back out there and start replacing those. So hopefully, as time goes on, everything will have registers and transponders. We'll get maybe 10 a month that fall out. We go in, we replace them by next meter read, and we just continue that on until we're done. So.
And then just mention anything over 1.5 inches or anything over 2 inches.
Yeah, anything over 2 inches needs a different register. I actually got 2 in so far that will cover the 4-inch, but they're on back order. So I was able to get 2 for 4-inch meters, but anything 2 and above is all on back order. So that's going to have to be kind of pushed to a manual route so we can get all those in. So, yeah.
Morgan, you said that you've been working on equipment and getting everything organized and stuff, and as I was signing checks to pay bills, I saw we had a big bill from Market Street Auto.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in to talk to Paul, and you weren't here, Paul, so I did talk to Morgan. And my question to her was, I know our equipment is old, but but it's not that old, and the fact is that, you know, like I said to you, we just drive around here, it's not someplace that you can't get somebody to come and help you. My reason for bringing that up is, Morgan found out when she did that, because she took a Michael Striato, and I personally know that person, and they're a great mechanic. They found that had been billed for things that hadn't been done, but we paid for them. So all of our equipment now, Morgan made sure that all of our equipment is up to snuff and running well. Except there's one piece of equipment that is, Morgan said is not safe, you know, to send our guys out. And my question is, why do we keep it?
Yeah, it's a little Ranger.
So I think that that's something we need to talk about and address. I mean, if we're not gonna use it, it's all it's doing is gathering dust.
I mean, I have not got it into the shop yet to have it estimate, but I have a feeling it's, you know, it's a very old and I mean, he'll estimate it for free. I mean, we can see how much it'll cost us, but I'm not quite sure. Personally, I don't even wanna drive it down there. We might, you know, it's that bad.
Can you give us an idea exactly what you're talking about, the year, the model, whatever?
I'm not sure.
How many miles?
Yeah,
Maybe next time, or you could get us information.
I will, definitely, yeah, I'll give you more info on it, for sure.
The other thing I found out just the other day was my daughter's office manager for a water district that runs lots of trucks like we do. They just took in their fairly brand new diesel truck that uses DEF like they all do now. And because they drove it only short distances here to there, not long distances like the diesel engines are made to run, they're having to rebuild that almost brand new truck for $26,000. And the mechanic said the new DEF trucks, if you just don't drive them a long distance, they're not made for just around here. So we're gonna be a lot better keeping our other trucks going than buying something new that's in the long run, unless we go to just gasoline.
Yeah, and our equipment actually, it looks really good, our equipment itself, but our trucks, you know, that we drive on a daily basis, they're definitely getting older. So if we can try to, you know, doctor them as long as possible, but it's definitely something on the further, you know, lookout that needs to definitely be addressed sooner or later. But, yeah.
I wanted you to talk about, we're still having glitches apparently with some of these transponders or meters or whatever ones that we're replacing. So I know on Facebook, somebody said something, I have a glitch where I was billed for 26 units. You know, in wintertime, that's impossible. So I was told that a digit got added, is what I was told by the office staff. So what are we doing to combat that? And is that something that's normal? Is it something that we have to pay closer attention to? What are we doing to avoid that happening to other customers?
So what it is it's called a resolution, and normally when they're putting in these kind of situations, the resolution, you're going for a 1 inch, you're going for a 1.5 inch, you're going for a 5/8. So you have different size meters, and they all have different resolutions. We have so many different meters out there with older registers and on top of them that it's hard for us to know what that resolution is. There's no paperwork trail on any of this, so we have to go get our eyes on almost every single one of these. And that's kind of where we're at. So as long as we're replacing them with new ones, we know what that resolution is. We know what's coming back to us. But anything that's older, you might have a 6 dial, an 8 dial, a 7 dial. Those are all going to be different resolutions, and if it's a different size meter, there's another different resolution. So the difference in the resolution problems we're having is the older meters with the old registers. So if we can get all those out of here, we will not have that problem anymore. But right now what we're doing is we're contacting Beacon and billing, and we're all getting on the same page to try to figure out, okay, let's get a picture. We're taking pictures of them with our phone and getting back to billing so she can figure out the correct resolution.
And we're not estimating anybody?
No, absolutely not. No.
Thank you.
Can you tell me how many meters and backflow devices are located across the street from a residence or business?
Say that one more, what?
How many customers have their meter and backflow device literally across the street from their property?
I don't know, I'd have to look into
Okay.
that, yeah.
I ran into a customer today in that situation.
Yeah, we've got a couple, and even with just meters across, you know, that do a weird thing where they jog across, and sometimes you don't realize it until you know, have a water break and you go, why isn't this water going out?
Do we need to have something in our policies that states if there is a break between the meter and the residence, that the district would repair it? Because it
Between
runs underneath a road. Typically, from the meter on, it's up to the customer, and I don't think it's quite fair for someone whose meter was placed across the street to be accountable for that repair. If it came up.
That's a very good point, because, you know, our motto is everything from the meter is yours, every service line. You know, but you gotta also think, we have a lot of service lines going down a lot of dirt roads too, that, normally would not be doing for customers, that they would be coming from the front of the street. So there's kind of different situations to where we might be coming across the street, but we also have a lot of service lines going down roads that we, you know, probably shouldn't be going down just because of the breakage factor, and also we have a lot of very long service lines coming from our main that supply people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a catch-22, I think, on that, but I can't really give you an answer on that one. You know, that's a lot for a customer to come across the road,
Yes.
you know. So, I mean, you know, I think it's kind of, when the situation happens, we're gonna fix it, and then I think it's, you know, what do you do from there, probably, you know?
Okay, thank you. Anybody?
So that's under a blacktop?
Yes,
It's
it's a real laptop.
Yeah, I know one that we actually just addressed, that was exactly what, it wasn't a backflow, but it was a meter, and she was getting fed from across the
The
street.
district actually took the meter, moved it across the street, and installed a backflow when the meter was on the property a number of years ago.
Yeah, this one was just the meter, we had a valve right here, and then the meter, and it went across the street.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good question, you know, I don't, I mean, it's a lot easier for us to address than them.
Just on the end of Olinda, that's the way it is, the people across the street. Now, I don't know about the other home, but that's across the street, but I know there's 2 meters right there, and one of them feeds across the street.
Yeah. Something to look into for sure.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, you know, we had a question about propane and the cost, and
Correct.
you had talked to the supplier about, is there a government rate or commercial rate? And also we had an inspection for our tank that we'll get a report on, but you might wanna just
Yeah, I was just seeing if there was any, anything that we could get, some deductions for government or anything like that, and there's not, even a tax exempt with them, we don't, qualify for. So, we tried.
And who are we currently using?
Blue
Diamond.
Blue Star,
Blue
yeah, Blue
Star,
Star.
right.
Yeah.
I recently called into my propane company to have my tank filled. And having done a little research, I found they were gonna charge me $3.99 a gallon. Okay, and I said, but I can go through this company and get it for $3.79. She said, okay, go sell it for that. So I'm saving about $24.
Yeah, because I think Blue Star was
They were on the high side.
or something, so there are cheaper ones out there.
And they're local.
Well,
All right, anybody else?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, Morgan, I was one of the first people hooked up back in 63 or 67 when we were finally getting water. We applied for a 4-inch meter, intending to irrigate our whole 10 acres. But, it got so expensive that we ended up reducing down to 2-inch. Now, will we be involved in this, transponder change?
Yes, you will be,
I
yeah.
know they did change that, dials once, they actually changed my whole meter once. They dug it up brought it over here to the shop and, fixed it to where the orifices were smaller, and that way the dials went faster. Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, you'll definitely be within the, register replacement, if you haven't already, actually. So, but if you're on auto, I don't know if you're on auto or not, if your auto's still picking up, we're gonna keep picking you up until you're not, so that's kind of where we're at with
Well, I
that.
can read my meter from the house with that little handheld thing.
Oh, the app?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
then I
that's-
can go down the street and read my meter without having to get out.
Oh, is that,
Transponder's still good.
yeah, transponder's still good, then you're on auto,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Robert,
When I bought my property, it came with a 3-inch meter, but it became defective before I could build my home, and the district wanted to swap it out for 2-inch. Because, well, he went to buy a 3-inch meter, it would cost more than the property would, but to swap, the actual cost was like $3,000 for 3-inch and $700 for 2-inch, so they swapped it out, so it's only like 4 inches old for 2-inch, so that should be auto or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if it hasn't been done already, yeah. If you're one of the 267, we haven't done it yet.
I won't yell or nothing.
Yeah.
Morgan, thank you for addressing the Hoopagate hydrant. It's nice to hear that it's on your radar, and yeah, it is very saturated over there this time of year, so hopefully May, things dry out, and you can go ahead and hit that.
And it's right in that ditch line.
Oh yeah, it is, squarely,
Yeah.
squarely, so, no, thank you very much, it's good to hear you have a plan.
What was your title again?
Distribution supervisor?
I have one question.
You go right ahead.
Could we get, I saw you guys working down Pine Street the other day, and I almost went, I wanna see the ditch, or the back trailer work. I still don't understand how it works, so.
It's got a, so the back trailer, it's got a motor on it, and it ends up, it's got filters on it, and it's got a pump to where it pumps, how do I explain it?
That's why I wanna see it
Yeah,
work.
that's right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you wanna come out, we can give you a sample and,
I think next time you've got a scheduled repair with the back trailer, let's send the board an email and they can come.
oh, we can do a video.
Yeah,
It's-
or invite you,
Or
and
invite-
we
yeah.
can do a video too.
I watched them work up and down Olinda when PG&E was working, putting in the poles and that,
Mm-hmm.
and I still couldn't figure out how they work. I was used to a suction pump and a backhoe and, but we didn't have power lines or any of that stuff in there, so I couldn't quite understand, how you suck up dirt and then get rid, you've gotta get rid of it, and
Well,
so,
and we break it up with, a high pressure
yeah.
wand, and so we're able to suck it up that way, and then we actually dump it, which our back, trailer actually has hydraulic dump, which is wonderful, we don't have to do the wing nuts all the way around, you know what I mean? And, we actually have been dumping out here, that's one of the main reasons, I wanna get that organized, so we can start moving that dirt, get that dirt, sifted, and be able to use it without the rock, and, utilize that yard some more, so.
How many trips are you having to make back to the yard with that 500-gallon tank on say the planned repairs? So they're probably a little bit smaller than the emergency.
We're pretty good. If we do a small one, like if we're just doing a curb stop, we don't have to dump. We could probably do a couple curb stops with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and if, we've got a big, honestly, unless it's a pretty big, deep one, we're usually not even dumping until we're done. So,
That's very
So
exciting.
it's
yeah.
I like that.
I know, it's wonderful, yeah. So, and it also depends too how much we have water, how much we have to de-water.
Right.
If we've got, if we're sitting in a ditch line, we're gonna be sucking up a lot of water, so that makes a difference.
So it's paying for itself.
Oh, absolutely. Not only that, it's less, we have to come back and clean up a lot of these places, of course, with this backhoe, and it's a mess. So with this, back trailer, we can keep the mess limited, we can pull out of there and, come back for very limited amount of cleanup. And so it pays for itself by far, yeah.
Anything else? Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah,
I just would mention, it is one of the unmentioned benefits that we didn't talk about before, and that is that when we have the backhoe out there and it's wet and it's making ruts, and it's doing all these other things, a lot of times we can't go back and fix it till after it's dried up a little bit.
yeah.
Now with the back trailer, we don't have that sort of return issue as much.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they get angry when you pull out and you leave it looking like that. Usually I'll try to call and say, hey, I know we're coming back, you know, just to let you know. But yeah, you know, that backhoe's pretty messy when we pull off and have to wait a while. So this back trailer is nice. So, yes, we're very pleased with it.
Good. 6C, water rates.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in your packet, you have the initial letter from Elizabeth Hadley, which is our initial allocation, where they made a mistake, actually, where they gave us 100% of irrigation water and 100% of historic use for M&I. In actuality, they gave us 100% of our contract. And we will be getting an updated one, but we've gotten that. There's also a rate sheet for your irrigation water and M&I water. You've got your cost of service rates for both, and then you've got your surcharges, your restoration fund for both. Just as a quick reminder, we do not have a separate line for our Trinity Public Utilities, so that 15 cents is now included in the, per acre foot is included in the cost of service. Also, just a reminder, we have a chart in here, which is the one with the kind of the shaded stuff and all of the different numbers. And I have a little description of our columns, the different columns. We've got cost of water column, we've got our forecasted volume column, we have column D, which is our cost per unit to purchase water from the Bureau, column E, which is our cost of treatment, column F, which is our 4.1% that goes into reserves, and then our total usage cost. I also have in here the sheet that I've supplied to the Bureau, which is our scheduled water. So M&I is 2,025 acre feet, and our irrigation water is 600 acre feet. That's based on this last year's usage. That's slightly less, just for, and again, this is a reminder for cash flow reasons. You don't want to schedule a lot more than what you think you're going to use, because you got to pay for that in advance, and then you don't get credit back until the next month. I will just mention in our operations report, you can see what we actually did receive from the Bureau. So in the bottom of the top sheet of the memo, I have our water costs for M&I is $54.14 for the Bureau. That's our cost of service and restoration charge combined. If we subtract out our 15 cents for the Trinity Public Utilities District, we're at $53.99 for column B in our chart. And so irrigation, same thing, it's added up to $43.57, $43.57 minus 15 cents, $43.42 in column B. Again, that is because of our commitment that in the past, the district overcharged for Trinity Public Utilities this year. We're going to absorb that. Basically, we, working with Bill, we went through all of the treatment costs, and based on, a little bit increased scheduled water, chemicals, he checked that basically that doesn't look like there's going to be any major cost increases, but going to increase a little bit, just on more usage with more water. We're holding the utilities pretty much the same, because both in our FY24 and halfway through FY25, it's looking like it's pretty much the same. So all in all, when you run it through that chart that I just described, the domestic or M&I cost runs out to 56 cents per unit, which is what we're currently charging. And because the ag water went down from the Bureau, it runs out to 53 cents per unit, which is 1 penny less than what we're charging currently. So the recommendation is you have ordinance 2025 03 before you. It has your year 4 updated rates, and obviously the fees stay the same, and recommend that the board approve that.
Questions by the board? Terry? Beverly? Pam? No? By the public, any questions? Nope.
Just
Go ahead.
one comment, just for the audience. Do not ever forget that 15 cents Trinity PUD, because it is by acre foot, and we were charged for years by cubic feet. So we have overpaid that for our eternity, as far as I'm concerned, at least I know my lifetime, so,
All
so,
of our lifetime.
yeah, so that's why Paul has remembered to take that off of there, because, they were erroneously charging us the wrong amount for years.
For every HCF, we were paying 12 cents, and when it was 12 cents an acre foot. So we should have been paying .00012,
Yeah, and just
kind of a thing.
again, this is part of our commitment to the community to be open and transparent and also fair. So, you know, on your little sheet here, you have your updated appendix A and B of your, you know, rate rationale, which has your shaded things on there. So I have, you know, at the bottom, it has this whole calculation of there, so that makes sure that when I'm not here, nobody's gonna see that, and they better make sure they remember.
Yep.
Number one.
Correct.
Number two, my updated sheet that didn't make it into here, just for the board's purposes, just remember the numbers that show for the city of Reading and, you know, the Knights Landing, Investors, McConnell, and District Wells, those are all based on 2022 numbers. I put that in the chart. So, that's just,
With that said, we need a motion to approve ordinance 2025-03, the new water rate schedule.
I so moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Having a motion and a second to approve the new water rates, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, just quickly before we move to the next item, I know in January, I gave you a long list of things to be thinking about for the coming year and a half, and one of them is to consider sometime after July 1, updating our rates, okay? And so, one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that we had all this information in there about the Trinity PUD and other things is, one of the elements of updating the rates is your usage rate calculation, and what's included in the usage rate calculation. So hopefully they'll be more clear on that. But just for curiosity, maybe, because I'm sure, I did do a quick check to see, you know, under the rate rationale in 2021, they used the costs to create their base rate from, you know, cost of distribution, all admin and regulatory costs. That was the term that they used. And you might recall they used the activity report from June 30th of 2020, and they used $1,757,150, and they had 2,700 accounts, or 2,710. They divided it by that. That's how they came up with 55. So if you look at the report that we brought you in February for FY24, and you kind of run all the numbers, that new cost was $2,033,592. It's an increase over 4 years-ish of $276,000, which is 15.7% increase, which you divide that out, that's almost 4% a year. And you know, since 2020, we've had some of this. So those are just some quick calculations. That's why we're kind of getting a little bit behind. But if you take that current amount and divide it by the base rates, or the number of customers with base rates we have, it comes out to be about $63 per base rate.
Now, that's partly because we had to adjust the total number of customers paying the base rate. It really wasn't 2710.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's all, remember, we budgeted on getting 90% of that, making
Yeah.
sure that we're really being cautious about it. So we've turned the corner. The district is in the black. But I'm just using that as a quick reason why to think about moving forward with that. And then, really quick, in that old report, they had a treatment cost of about $377,000. It's gone up, kind of a commensurate amount, and based on the 41 cents per unit, it covers that treatment cost. Obviously, taking out testing and all those things.
Right.
So just quick comment, in case anybody's got a calculator.
I have a quick comment. So as I was going through the papers, I found an old rate chart. And so one of the things in 21, the board at that time didn't include the pumping for the additional electrical charge for those few customers that got
Right
missed.
up the hill, yeah.
But also in there was a commercial and industrial rate, which was a little bit different also. And I don't think that that's reflected in our rate
No,
chart.
I don't think so either.
So that's something else that we have to be aware of. But I don't know if that falls under Prop 218. Is that appropriate or not for commercial and industrial to have a different rate because of that?
That's a really good question for a little later. I don't think so, because the usage rate is domestic and ag, and it's based on those two bifurcations. CII, commercial, industrial, and institutional, all get the domestic rate. They're considered like a single family home or whatever else. So that's why they're roped into this rate structure. Second, I would just say, yes, the, basically what should be done is you should have zones in which there could be extra costs like pumping. Okay, so the North Booster right now is cost of electricity is being covered by everybody in the district. And it's really only used for those that water that go towards the cemetery and up in that area. So what you do is you create a zone there and you do some calculations on what the cost of pumping is. And they would be in a zone. They would get that notification as Prop 218 that you're in zone A, let's say, and that you have an extra 2 cents per unit energy pumping cost.
Which is.
Centerville has like 2 or 3 pumping zones that they do. So
All right.
it's a really, really good valid point. It needs to be kept on roll.
Going 6D then.
All right, well, thank you to the board. So 6D is general manager recruitment item. I supplied the board under my contract a 60-day notice terminating the contract on May 2nd. We had a special meeting, created an ad hoc committee for recruitment, and this is the item to take from the ad hoc committee some ideas, get direction from the board, and then we can start posting the recruitment on multiple locations, multiple sites. Also, the ad hoc committee is to look at potential for an interim and any other things that they want to report to you today. We have a couple of options in your packet, mostly just to see what the board is interested in doing. One option is, the only real change on the first 2 options are putting the salary in there. You could put, depending on qualifications, and say the salary agreed upon by the successful candidate will depend on the breadth of experience and education. And then the other option, which is like the fifth page, I think, is you put in a salary range. And we have a recommended amount in there. And then the other thing is to have people, if they want to submit an email, via email, to send it to my email, since I will be here through April 23rd. And then there's one other little front page, last option. The chair thought maybe it'd be nice to have a little job opening little thing on top of the item there. And the other thing that I wasn't able to get in the packet until I found out today, so the BC Water Jobs, which is a really great place to post, is about $200 to post it. I couldn't find the cost for Calero Water, but I think it's pretty reasonable. Indeed is around $70. AWWA can be expensive, and I'm not sure it's worth putting it in there yet, but I didn't get an actual firm number from it. With that, it's to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director Lincoln, any comments on our meetings you wanna give?
Go for it.
Any thoughts about the decisions on the different examples we had?
We agreed, so just go for it.
Yeah, we chose an updated example of the one that was used to recruit our general manager, and then we made some minor adjustments that he has talked about. As chair, it's gonna fall to me to kind of reach out and look for interim general manager to cover that stopgap. I've already started reaching out a little bit to some of the city and county people. Once we approve tonight which version of the recruitment flare we will use, I'll be going to the various cities, county offices, and placing them on their employee bulletin boards. I've already got some good feedback on possible interim manager candidates that once we've approved this process, I can now reach out to. So I'll be spending the next couple of days there. We did tentatively approve, and the board should be aware that the deadline was to be April 23rd for showing interest. And then there would be time for us to weed out the obvious, resumes that don't even suit the bill, and then bring the rest to the board for a decision and set up an interview time. Once we select a candidate, they may or may not need to give notice where they're currently working. 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days. We'll have to deal with that with an interim through that time frame.
So is that what we want the ad hoc committee to do, is to weed them out, or is that something we all can look at?
Oh, I'll be happy to show you all of them. I'm talking about the stock picker who filed through Indeed and has maybe not minimal education, no water experience, or the person who wants $200,000 a year that we know we can't pay. I was simply trying to eliminate the most obvious ones so that the board didn't have a lot of busy work.
I would prefer to look at them all. I don't know what your guys' thought process, I mean, I would just like to know what we've got.
Sure.
So would I.
Not a problem. Be happy to do that.
It's just, I mean, we all know it doesn't necessarily have to have water experience, but yes, the packing person might be something different.
Mr. Chair, if I could be so bold, I think what we would want the ad hoc committee to do is to obviously review all the things that come in, but give the board all of them.
Sure.
But they, obviously they might say, here's the bottom 20, and this is why, but at least so everybody can see why,
Sure.
ask questions, and see if there's a reason for that. And that would be something that, because remember, the ad hoc committee isn't going to be making recommendations, it's mostly just facilitating the process to bring it to the closed session.
Agreed.
And again, if I can do so bold, I think for our April meeting, we probably should have a closed session for the general manager recruitment. fairly general.
But we can
You
show
may have
anything
some.
that's, whatever's coming by then.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Just to keep.
Sure.
So everybody kind of knows what's going on.
I just had one question on the application or the package. I just want to confirm, under the benefits, the retirement, membership is still 2% at 55 and 2% at tier 2 at 60. I just wanted to make sure there were no changes over the years with that.
No,
Okay.
and again, I was tempted to put a dash DOQ on that one as well. So, you know, basically, if you have a candidate who has been a member of CalPERS prior to 2013 and a continuous member, they could be a classic member.
Yes.
We have one employee at the district who's currently a classic member. So if they are a classic member and they come here, they're gonna wanna keep their classic membership, which is what we're saying here, that they can do that. If they happen to be a tier 2, which is highly unlikely, which means they somehow joined CalPERS between January 1 of 2013 and I think September of 2013, there was a little window in which there was an odd tier. Then if they came here, they would be able to keep their tier 2 status. Most likely, you're gonna have somebody that will be a pepper, and that would be what you would,
Right.
after 2013.
I think the only thing that's
So
not
I'm just trying to, so everybody understands, that's why that's in there. It just means whatever you come in with, if you're qualified, you'll have that.
the only other possibility would be someone applies from the private sector, is not involved in there, then we would want to look at
Yeah.
benefits for them.
And to that, they would only qualify for the pepper.
I literally yawned and missed the position we're talking about. What position is under discussion?
General manager.
Are you reading?
Yeah, he gave notice.
When?
His last day will be May 2nd.
No.
He gave a proper 60-day notice.
Something I said?
No, not at all.
I know you came into a big mess, and you helped us through bad times. We did without a manager for months and months and months. And he took over and just kept the ball going and got us back on our feet. I hate to see him go, I didn't know about this,
Yeah.
so said and done.
Yep.
Caitlin, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, slightly, because I haven't looked at what the flyer looks like, so I'm sorry. Could it just have you some kind of verbiage when it comes to the retirement package saying if prior CalPERS member or whatever your continues through? I don't know how to verb that, sorry.
So,
You'll probably confirm that during the
yeah,
contract that we.
I think you do that probably through that's why we list all 3 of the potentials, so that it would be through the contract. I really appreciate the very nice comments from the community and the public, and as you know, I've worked very hard to make this next person, it's a more attractive job today than it was 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
That's for sure.
we're not facing bankruptcy.
I do want to hear from the full board on, do you want DOQ or a salary range?
Yes. Preference.
Well, let's ask this question. What's the benefit of putting a salary range? That we won't get people that want 200,000? Or,
Part of it, yes.
or do we not put it in there and maybe we can talk somebody down? Right?
Open for discussion. I agree.
I've never applied for a job with a CSD or public utility. There's somebody sitting over there that has. What's the most appealing when you're hunting for this type of position and you're coming across a job listing? Is it better to see DOQ or a range?
I think it's usually better to see a range, but in this case, I am going to recommend that you do the DOQ because I think you want there to be some perception of some flexibility. Plus, you know, we have been open and transparent. It's on the website what my current salary is. It's on the website what my starting salary was.
Yep.
So anybody that's, you want somebody that's worth their salt, to actually look, if you send DOT to look, say, okay, I want 200,000, I'm not applying for this job, because clearly the range is between the 130 and the 145.
Correct.
So,
We could
I
also,
appreciate you asking the question, that's my recommendation.
it's potential we could be, having an assistant manager somewhere who's getting less than a range that would be interested in stepping up to become one. And we might, possible, start them at 110 or 120, which would be below a potential range. I know when we were first trying to recruit our current general manager, they were talking about, 95,000 a year maybe. So obviously that's a few years ago. Realities of cost have changed some. So
There was no reality in 90,000.
we weren't gonna get one, I know.
So, I think, so that's my,
That was a good answer.
Yeah, good answer, perfect.
yeah.
So what's the board's wishes?
EQ or EOQ.
That's fine. I agree with Paul.
Okay.
He told me I had to.
He's gonna beat you that way.
Okay, so the
Are we in
other thing
agreement
too
then?
is, once you approve this, just so you know, this means it's gonna get on our website, Lord willing tomorrow, it'll be on all of the, it'll be getting posted out there and.
Great.
Get out there.
I would like about a dozen copies with the color front page so that I can physically take them to locations.
Yeah.
To start the recruitment. I intend to start, if they're in my hands, on Friday.
So, okay, so we'll do that, that's good, the board's good with that, and then the other thing too, I have reached out for potential interim, support, and basically have put that in Chair's hands to take care of, probably that, but, the firm that supplied us a distribution supervisor when we needed one, 20 hours a week. They have a couple of candidates that they've sent to us that are potentials.
Correct. I'm getting emails with that updated information to contact.
Yeah. So once we're done here, the chair can
Which I will
contact
do
them
tomorrow.
and stuff like that. And my suggestion is we should aim for that April 16th meeting to have something in line for that.
I move to accept the general manager position, packet with the, added DOQ instead of an actual salary listed.
Okay, the only other thing would be with or without, the job opening on the cover. I asked that it be added as an option, because with the hopes that if you only see the cover, you're not sure what's being asked. And if it says job opening, it might attract attention of somebody in the Department of Public Works or.
I agree. I don't know, yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
Okay. So we have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think that means it is approved.
All right, thank you.
May I ask what a DOQ is?
Oh,
Depending on qualifications.
Depending on qualifications.
Oh, naturally,
Atkins.
yeah.
All right, the next item, it's titled Hours of Operation and Staff Needs. The board and I have talked about this in the past, but it's just really come up now to start, I think, the process. A lot of staff have asked, last year asked that we consider changing our schedule to 8 a.m. to 4:30 and reducing lunch for a half hour. Then all that staff left, so we hired a bunch of people, and now, here we are 8 months later, and they're saying, hey, have we thought about this? Part of it is, they're looking, they're going to safety trainings with Centerville people and Rio Alto people, and they drive up to their locations and see they're open till 4:30. or in Rio Alto's case, they're open until 4, and that they've all gone to half-hour lunches. For the operators, they just feel like they don't need the full, time for lunch. Sometimes when they're actually out on a leak, an hour seems like a long time to be, take 20 minutes to eat your lunch and then, let the project sit there. So they're interested. I think our admin staff are also interested. The other thing the operators are interested in, for those that were here last summer, Ben and Morgan in particular, have said, boy, during those hot months, basically mid-June, July, August, and September, if there's a way we could start at 7 and beat the heat, and then with a half-hour lunch, be out of here at 3:30. And then the on-call person for that week would come in at 8 and stay till 4:30 in case there was a need.
If I may interrupt you real quick, can we make those two separate discussions, please?
Yeah, we can.
Okay?
So, the other thing though, back to just the admin, staff, we noticed that with the COSI and the easier online payment, we get fewer people coming in to make payments, but we still get quite a few people that, mainly because I'm eating my lunch in the office, that'll rattle the doors at lunchtime. It's amazing how our FedEx, UPS, and Amazon all want to deliver at 12:20. It's like, we're a public agency, we're closed at noon. So one option for the office staff, this is just a half-hour lunch thing, is, and I believe the finance community director Tickus also mentioned this too, it's a really great idea, is to stagger their lunch. So you would say one admin takes their lunch from noon to 12:30, and then comes on and comes back to work at 12:30, and the other admin takes their lunch at 12:30 to 1. So basically, we would be closing at 4:30, but we would actually now be open from 8 to 4:30, not closed at lunchtime. Obviously, if half the staff is sick or whatever else, then we may have to close for a half hour, but that would be the plan. My recommendation is that we consider this, and if you are okay with it, we would start the process. At the bottom, it says work with staff on the scheduling and working with the current district documents. So that was a way of saying the MOU says our hours of operation are 8 to 5. So we would have to send something to the union and get them to have a staff meeting, and everybody in the staff say yes, and tell the union yes, and that way we would move forward with it. It took about 3 or 4 months for Centerville to implement it. They implemented this starting, I think, November of last year. And then secondarily, if we were open to it, we would also send them a separate one on the operators about starting early. And I know, I talked to treatment, they're interested in the half hour. They're like, there's nowhere for us to go. And so what happens is we eat our sandwich at our desk and then we work for the second half hour.
Let's deal with the 8 to 4:30 aspect first, and then the operator's safety issue as a secondary. If you can, please. Director Weaver, any comments, questions?
I'm all for it. I think it's ridiculous that we close for an hour at lunch, and there's no reason we can't stagger it. And I agree with the half hour. I mean, that way we're respecting their time.
All right.
So I had 2 questions that I brought up during our finance meeting or not questions, but in the past, when they decided to close for lunch, they sent out a survey to the public for them to make a comment. So, I think we can put on the, just in the newsletter, comments from the public if they, I doubt if we get any, they hardly ever read it, they probably don't care. But at least again, it's giving the public some input on what they would prefer. The other was, did we ever research anything to do with the phone calls? I'm very curious how many phone calls we get from 12 to 1 versus 4:30 to 5. from customers.
So just for the community, so this came up at the finance committee, so talking to Ability, which is our answering service, to get the phone logs for noon. And, Lisa has put that request in, but since we don't have an admin, we haven't actually got it yet. So, yeah.
Okay.
I like the idea of the staggered lunch, that might, resolve some of it. Dr. Johnson, question?
I think it better serves the community and gets these guys out of here a little bit quicker.
All right, Dr. Johnson. Okay, that's good. I wanna make one comment, and I'm not against it at all. But is this something we wanna address now or say when we are negotiating our next MOU with them? I just want us to give that consideration.
I think we need to address it now because, like Paul said, it's gonna take 3 months to implement it by the time we work with the union.
Yeah.
So I think the sooner the better, and that way we're in the summer and these guys have better hours.
I think it demonstrates good faith for the staff.
Yep.
So,
Okay,
I think we do it now.
fair enough.
You always have the discretion if the union response isn't what you want to say, well, then maybe we need to deal with this later.
Right, all right. So we give the general manager direction to start this process then, after public comment, thank you. Anybody? Caitlin?
I have a question. For like the field workers, does there have to be an admin at the office for the field workers to get here, or do the field workers have access into the office?
They have access.
Okay, because I was gonna say, would you potentially have to have an admin here at the 7 a.m. shift for them? Would it possibly be if the 8 to 4:30 versus 8 to 5, what if one person comes in at 8 and works till 4:30, and then you have an alternate that comes in 8:30 to 4 or to 5, and then whoever the admin is, like one works a morning shift and one works a late shift, and they just alternate week to week. So then theoretically the office is never closed, but you're still doing the alternate 30-minute lunch. Does that make sense?
Well, through the chair, I think, first of all, on the operator side, starting at 7, they have access and they can definitely beat the heat. They already know that one of them will have to come at 8 and stay till 4, or stay till whenever the office closes, in case at 4 o'clock they need to go out and turn off the water. If it's, I think staggering start times for admin, I mean, we only have 3 admins, so part of it is that would be the challenge.
Okay, so dealing strictly then with the health and safety issue for the distribution staff, are there changes to policies or MOU that have to be done to approve this? Do we do it based on a calendar, say from June 1 through September 30 or something? Or do we set any time it's gonna forecast to be 90 degrees or warmer? I don't know, how do you guys feel? How should it be accomplished?
Are we at that stage to have that discussion now?
Yeah, I think, again, I mentioned it as for the operators, not only the half-hour lunch, but the added item, which I think all staff will work on, I got the direction, we'll work on that. Now for the operators, the 7 a.m. option, when it's in the summer months, I think my recommendation is if you're okay with it, I should send a separate thing to our operators and the union and say, this is under consideration. And I don't think you do it based on the weather. I think you just say it starts on July 1 and it ends on September 30th or whatever date you kind of pick. And that you have in there that the on-call has to come at 8, and that's pretty much to see what they want to do. If the union wants to negotiate on it or has other things, the way they look at it, I do think we have to get it through them because it says in our hours of operation are 8 to 5.
I would like to see some flexibility for the distribution supervisor to be able to say, maybe you've got people going on vacation or whatever the case may be, and so she may have to change the hours, so something has to show flexibility and a schedule maybe 2 weeks out if necessary or something, I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing June 1st through September 30th.
Right.
Which would be fine, but again, there's gotta be some flexibility for not to be locked into that in case something happens.
It has to say something like, depending on the needs of the district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to negotiate with the union.
Yeah.
Well, not to necessarily negotiate, but if you were gonna go hardcore on it, and so Morgan needs to switch somebody around, they're gonna say, oh, MOU says I'm 7 to 3:30, that's all I'm working. So,
Yeah, it's a super valid point, especially, I think, we're not there as often, but the treatment plant gets really hot sometimes, and I think giving our chief plant operator the option to have people start at 7 most of the time during the heat is probably great, but then again, there's only 3 in that division, and you got 1 or 2 people sick, he needs the flexibility to say 8 to 5 this week.
Well, we,
I agree.
if we don't put in, depending on the needs of the district, what'll happen is we won't always have, but we could possibly have somebody that just is a stickler for some things, and it would make it very difficult on everybody else.
Yeah.
So if we have some adaptability, it will be better.
I think I got it, if you're okay, I'll just start the process, doesn't mean, we'll come back with you when.
Sounds good. We're all good with
On the
this?
second page, just on the staff needs, first I would, mention that both the admin, when she left, and the account clerk have communicated that, there's some things like shut-offs, there's catch-up on a lot of other items that kind of get set aside when the phone's always ringing and people coming in. So, to really give that clerk some help, we went first with O2 staffing, and they weren't able to get us somebody, but Superion was able to get us somebody to come and answer phones and help out. So, it's for a short period of time, I think it's gonna be very helpful. The other thing that was very evident is that, our account clerk has a pay scale, it's on our website. It starts at $21.03, and that was done in 2021, 2022, survey when it was part-time, prior to California changing the minimum wage, and prior to California updating fast food worker wage. And so I think we have a good account clerk right now, and everything was going good, and when we were looking at the pay, I think it's a little hard when you have your key employee front-facing to the community, taking sometimes unhappy people like we had, was like really frustrated with like, can't you help us with this $2,000 bill? And, could go to work at Starbucks and make the same amount, not more. I've got a little bit in here, In-N-Out Burger pays $20 an hour, Starbucks baristas in Reading are $21.28. Account clerk at the Health and Human Services at the county is $23. So we're currently at $21.03. I do not recommend going and trying to re-deal with the pay scale until you do the MOU updates next year. So I'm asking, in our MOU, it's specific that the district does not give any step increases until you've been here at least a year. It's also specific that you can only get a step increase once a year, unless the board gives deference or changes that, or allows the general manager to do that. So what I'm requesting is, specifically under that MOU section, Article 9, that I am given the ability to give our current account clerk a bump to step 2 or step 3, 2 steps, to $22.54 an hour. And that will kind of reset, in other words, they can't get another step increase until a year from whenever that pay gets happened here. If you give me that authority. If you do, it's gonna cost us, about an extra $900 for that position through the end of this year. And then we'll obviously put it into the budget for next year. And then it'll be on the list for something to deal with in the next coming year.
I so move that we give the general manager the ability to give that step raise.
Okay, let's have some discussion first. Any comments or questions? No. Logan?
No.
Beverly? From the public, any questions or comments about this? Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying
Oh,
I'm thumbs upping it
wasn't sure
because,
which thumbs up.
no, she deserves it. I mean, because she can go elsewhere and get a couple bucks more. I mean, we don't want to lose, unfortunately, another employee.
Well, and that's what's been happening, is
Yeah.
that you can go and get a better paying job someplace
Flip burgers
else.
at Mickey D's and make the same money.
Except
I
the
think that's-
benefits here are a little better.
Yeah,
So,
Sure.
well, you're not working nights and weekends.
Yeah.
right. And you are full.
But,
With 11 paid holidays. Not that, we should be undervaluing our employees either.
So I so move.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
was that included, did you need the approval for the, hours? We didn't vote on it.
No, we did
No,
not.
I think I'm taking direction.
Yeah.
I heard the direction, I think I got it, so I think, again, just so you know, I'll work on it, we'll work it through the process, we'll come back to you when we figure out what we're doing. All right.
6F, administrator policy.
Yes, you might recall, in January, we tried to set up a Centerville, CSD dedicated capacity contract ad hoc committee. And then we realized we needed to come back in February and do the 2-step process, which was to have the board take action to create the ad hoc committee, and then the board take action to appoint the members to the committee. And when you did that in February, you directed me to come back with that amendment in the admin policy. So that's what's in here for you, and it's on page, it's in italics and in yellow, but if you don't have yellow, it's on page 3. Middle of the page. I don't know, I think the language hopefully is clear. The ad hoc committee creation, the second line. First of all, it's established for a limited purpose, duration, or given a specific task. When the work of the ad hoc committees is completed, the committee is dissolved. The ad hoc committee creation, this is added, will be on the board's posted agenda as new business. The board will create the ad hoc committee by vote, and the appointment of the members of the ad hoc committee will be made by the board with a motion appointing the members and a majority vote. So that's what we've been doing.
Right.
We'll just add one quick thing at our finance committee. We thought it might be good to have a clarification on the petty cash. So on page 6, one other little amendment. Petty cash and the policies in maintaining petty cash added, and cash on hand fund for the valid transactions to periodically replenish these funds up to the authorized balance of $650. Now in italics. The cash drawer, or, that's supposed to be or cash on hand will be $250 of that, and the balance, $400 will be in the petty cash amount. So the cash drawer, which is where we take people's payments and give change and everything else, will be $250.
So what happened there was that whoever was auditing or helping, the CPA or whoever was helping Melissa, had it listed separately. And so I'm going, well, wait a minute, I thought we had 650, but they had it listed separately. And so if we've got it listed separately, we need to show that it's separate.
Right. Any discussion on either of these updates to the administrative policy? No. Questions, public? Nope. I think we need a motion then.
I move that we accept the amendments to the general administrative policy. dated March 19th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All right, having a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? None. Motion carries.
Thank you, the board. Item G, Ag Committee request to send Happy Valley Farmers Market flyer to all customers. The board might recall last year, the Ag Committee facilitated a volunteer organization within the Happy Valley community to have a Happy Valley Farmers Market. We have one of our esteemed community members here, Warden, who put together the sign, and also the volunteers to just try to be very clear here. This is not an Ag Committee activity. It's a volunteers that happen to be part of the Ag Committee activity. The district did send this flyer last year, and we underestimated the cost.
Just a little bit.
So we covered it. I think it's a really great thing as community service to put it as a flyer in everybody's bill. We can, and then I got your costs here. So these are directly from Harvest. If we use black ink and on white paper, it's $225 to insert. If we use black ink on color paper, which you might want to think about, maybe using color paper, black ink, maybe yellow, like for spring, I don't know. It's $270, and if you use ink, color ink, one-sided, in other words, what can it look like? That, it's going to cost you that $443 for the district. We'll cover that as part of our customer account. So, looking for direction from the board.
Interest?
Well, what is the committee's recommendation?
Yeah.
You're the chair of the.
I am the chair of the Ag Committee. I would have liked to have maybe seen an example of what it would have looked like printed on color, because I look at,
Here's color.
well, no, sorry, printed on color paper, black and white, printed on color paper, because I love the color, the full
I do
color.
too.
It pops, it looks great. I don't know if that does anything as far as us promoting this, but aesthetically it looks a lot nicer, and I feel like it's gonna draw attention much better than a black and white insert. I also am a little partial because this is a project that we work on. I would recommend that we print a color though.
All right. Colored paper would have been nice to see though.
It would have, but that's okay.
I agree.
I agree. I'm cheap, I disagree.
I kind of lean towards colored paper myself personally. Maybe green, just so that the paper sticks out from the bill or whatever. But we have 3 members who have said they want full color.
We'll vote on it.
I know.
No big deal. What did the committee say when, I don't know how many people you had at the ag meeting. Did they have a preference? Did everybody there?
I think the examples that everybody had seen were all color, and so there weren't really even examples of black and white there at that time, because what we do have here on site in the back are all color also. So there wasn't a whole lot of shared perspective on that. And it's not that it's not appealing in black and white.
No.
No, and I think it's been on Facebook and people will be expecting it.
Yes,
But that looks good.
it does. It's not that it's not appealing.
It's not, it's not eye-popping. I don't even think the black and white on color paper would be eye-popping.
because of
So
the
this
bold
is-
right.
solid on the
Oh,
bottom.
yeah, it is. Now, Paul did provide with me a dozen or so of those, and I have priced half a dozen already. I did that today
Okay.
at local stores and a few other places, including Bonnie's Worthy.
Well,
Then they're pasted up on windows or.
Make a motion there, Director.
So I have a
I know.
question. How much are you charging per booth? How much is it
That'll
$5?
be based on the, this year's cost for the porta potty and whatnot.
Well, is that something that perhaps you could add or have a kitty to help defer this cost, since it's really not supposed to be the district paying for this?
Absolutely, I would say. I don't think that that's unreasonable. I think that there's there's a portion that we could say, yes, this is what we're willing to do, and maybe that's the black and white price. And then we pass that in $1 or $2 per vendor for the series. We're gonna be looking at, how many weekends is it?
12.
Yeah, 12 weekends.
Okay. Is it
Right
five-
now, we're projecting about $7 to $8 per vendor.
Might as well just make it 10. and
So you just make it 10 and then it's built in.
That
so-
has come to me as a recommendation by a few people.
So let's say you make only $50, so $100, so if you have five, let's just say we have 5 vendors, because sometimes that's all you have. So let's say you make $50 a whack, so then that makes it $100 a month. And so you've got 4 months in there, so that's only $400.
May, June, July,
So it
August,
only-
September, October, 6
Oh,
months.
6 months? So that barely pays for the porta potty.
Yeah, that's correct. I bought the chemicals last year, I have enough left to treat the porta potty, and so we don't have to pay for it. What we need to know is, not only do they charge you a set amount per month, but they charged us $55 to deliver it and $55 to pick it up. So you're looking at really an extra month in there of charges. Or actually 2
Why
months.
don't you ask these people here that are here?
I'm about to.
Okay.
Hey, Lynn?
What about having a community pot, having something saying like help the farmer's market continue year after year? And people could just throw in $1, you know, having a kitty of just, you know, customers come up and they just throw in $1 and it helps for future years' advertisings.
Ag committee chair.
Ag committee chair.
Logan, no.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. That might be something that, as we move more towards community leadership on this, that becomes a little bit easier. That way the district
Does it look like they're
doesn't
looking
look
for
like
money?
we're financially invested in this. You know, we're sponsoring, we're providing through the volunteer side, a lot of the energy that's pushing this forward. We're facilitating it, but we're not gonna be financially tied to it in that way as far as collecting donations. So
Well, then why can't you stay on that aspect too? You say sponsorship. Why can't we have the flyer, have it, as future comes, have the flyer, have it two-sided, have people buy sponsorship portion of it.
yeah, absolutely.
Quarterly
Advertising.
out the back, and then, you know, one side is the farmer's market, the other side is, you know, an advertisement from Bonnie's Burgers. Because obviously it's in their parking lot, so that's a little extra advertising for them going out in the flyers.
Yeah, it's on the front.
Any other comments by the public? I'll go with Robert, he had his hand up first.
Please, first, come on, raise your
All
hand.
right, nice.
Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm in an organization that is renting about 12 porta potties for 4 days in April. I wish I knew the cost. I don't have the figures, I'm not on that part of the committee, but what are you paying for one?
55 a month, that was last year.
For a month?
And I shopped around everybody who had the rentals available.
How many people do you think use that?
And it doesn't matter, Bonnie's Burgers requires it for us to use their lot for free.
Mandatory then?
So that they don't have overuse of their own restrooms. So yes, that's, basically that's the fee for using their lot.
I go, we never did have to have a porta potty, but the store had that outhouse right next door. But I never did see anybody go over there and use it, but we were only open from 2 to 6.
We average maybe 4 or 5 people usage. I made sure the storage tank was big enough, the chemical. Jill's deodorizes everything, so we never had to have it picked up, cleaned or whatnot, pumped out.
Yeah, we
During
have
the
to
season.
have a guy come every day.
Yeah,
and
so-
bring ours and wash them.
I'm anticipating the same scenario this year, that
I
there
don't know
will
if
be
it's the same
sufficient
company
use.
or not. They do a good job, I'll put it that way, but I guess I'm not on that part of the committee, so I don't have to deal with that.
I'll be calling if it's okay with the chair
Absolutely.
to look for the cost this year, so I can report on our April 9th meeting.
Okay, well,
Go ahead.
no, that's okay.
Then I want to go to Robert.
It sounds simple, but it's not. Starting the farmer's market was very complex, continuing it is very complex. there's a plethora of issues that some are not surface, you have to dig for them, but they're there and you need to find them. We had a successful year, which is odd because it was just starting. We didn't, sometimes we had 10 vendors, sometimes only 5. This year, we hope to maybe have 10 or 12 routinely, and we had like 4 quality vendors that 2 of them showed up. The little bread lady, she just does wonderful. She's great for advertising. It's sort of like an investment in the community. This board doesn't have a lot of money, and this board has a lot of things it has to fix. But the color flyer looks really good. I think we decided whatever the board would go for, we would take, but we preferred what looks the best, because that brings in more people, it looks more professional. And not that we are professional, we're trying to get to that extent. But again, it's an expense, it's ancillary to, it's not part of the general function of a water district. But in the indirect, the more agriculture, the more water, the better the community, the higher the property values. We don't get much of that, the county gets any uptake in property values, but it's just like an investment in the community, like a donation of charity of some sort, but charity to the community. The old saying, best place for charity is at home. So,
Thank you, Robert.
okay.
Any other comments? Then, I'd like to hear the will of the board. We don't need a motion, I think we need just to vote on preference. I've heard that full color was preferred. If we hold a vote on that one, maybe that makes the decision. So all in favor of the full color flyer, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
Okay. It passed, full color.
All right, thank you. Next up is, my report. We already dealt with some of the items that were mentioned in the report. I do want to mention that we've had a couple of good meetings with Jim Wadley, and we did sign the agreement, took him on a tour, given him a bunch of the documentation, including the treatment plant needs, and we have a scheduled coordination meeting with PACE next week. So remember, we're counting on PACE to get a little technical information, and then Jim's going to work on the grant applications, and he's already got a whole bunch of, he's got a lot of energy, which is great. The other thing, as mentioned in here, is we've had the Pond 3 project, the Backwash Pond project is it's doing great, except that there's one section that has had a little leak. Last week, before we got hail and snow on Friday, we were able to, with the contractor, kind of inject this area with kind of a silicone sealant, but haven't been able to actually test it or check it. We think it's fixed it, but in many ways, it really doesn't matter. Hopefully it fixes it, but if it doesn't, we have to move on. We have to start dewatering Pond 2, putting water into Pond 3, and we just won't sign off the full complete job until the contractor fixes it and makes sure Pond 3 doesn't leak. Because we need to be water dry and get moving on Pond 2, because that has to be done this year. And the plan is to get it done sometime by September, if not sooner. The fence did get installed, and electrical is getting installed this week. The state has approved an improved communication, hardwiring communication. Originally, the plan was to have a radio at the treatment plant and a radio at the ponds for gates and pumps and stuff like that. Now we're going to be able to hardwire it. So it costs some money for the trenching and et cetera. So the state said, no problem, change order would be fine for that, because they saw that as an improvement, and that's great. I guess kind of just leave it at that. The other thing, I know I reported to the board that one of the state regulations that came down from the EPA was a lead line service survey. In other words, we had to submit to the state every connection in the district with either a post-1986 construction installation, which was when the lead ban came into effect in California, or if it had been before that, that we had some visual and physical inspection of it. That the staff had worked on that starting in 2021. It was due by October 16th of 2024. I submitted it in September, mid-September of 2024. Obviously, everybody that had worked on that was no longer with the district, so I had gone through to make sure everything looked right. I submitted it, and the state didn't get back to me until mid-January to say, oh, they found a few errors. So that has consumed an inordinate amount of my time over the last 2 weeks because, you know, they're like, okay, we'll try to figure it out, but then luckily they had a staff engineer that was able to identify specifically locations that we were able to identify and that we could actually fix on the sheet, and it got uploaded. I even sent this engineer's boss a little thank you note that they were so helpful, because it took probably 8 to 10 hours of my time. It would have taken 50 hours if they hadn't helped out.
Yeah.
The second thing is, due by the end of this month is an updated version of this. This is just printed off, two-sided, 26 pages. This is called the electronic annual report that we have to do to the state. It has a lot of system information on it. This is where last year I was able to upload some documents that proved that we were a disadvantaged community and we got half price on our cost of the system. But it has everything to your operator certificates, to how much revenue, how many backflow devices, whether or not, you know, what your rates are, do you have a lockout policy, where is it located on your website, just all that variety of things. And all of the revenue and expense is supposed to be reported on a calendar year. I don't know why they think districts out there are on calendar years, we're all in fiscal years, so, you know, we gotta run reports with that. So we're working on that. That'll be done here in the next week. We did, was mentioned that we have a new admin assistant that'll be starting in about 2 weeks. We are also arranging the office to be more effective in its delivery of services. So the bookkeeper accountant is in an office that has 2 doors on it, so it reduces the amount of wall space, and it also is not as secure as some of the stuff that she had. So this office right here, we're gonna move her into that office. That office was, I guess, the AGM's office, and it's been our kind of training and volunteer office, and since we're done with the crop reports, let's get it set up so that secure that door. The admin is going to be in the former bookkeeper office because it gives direct access to be back up to the account clerk. But since admin is responsible for HR, payroll, and a few other things, there are times in which having phone calls related to personnel issues out in the middle of everything else has been very challenging. And so that way, if need be, we can close those doors. So that is proceeding. We're excited. You know, obviously can't say who it is yet because the account clerk hasn't passed background and all the rest of that stuff. But formally with Tehama County, has some good government experience and actually grew up in the district and lives right next to the district. So very excited about that. I don't think I have anything else to report at this point until we get to the operating report.
Any questions, board members? Committee, questions?
That was a new position you're adding this person to? That was a new position?
Not a new position, we're just replacing the administrative assistant.
He did say account clerk, so you're right to ask.
Okay.
My apologies.
So that's interesting. Thank you.
All right, so, operating report, again, this is just reiterating what we had found and identified last month, that 203 of those 120 plus days are delinquencies totaling 71,000. Many of these are those really old accounts receivables that when we have time, we will be able to start dealing with putting those on to some sort of liens and dealing with those.
Is there a time frame where they age out and we can't do anything about it legally?
Well, here it says 367 days delinquent.
Right. They're mostly, meters installed but not currently active.
Right. Yeah, these are a bunch of 1081 accounts. It's a good question. In general, under California Special District Law and Water District Law, the 1 year is kind of the demarcation point for things like if you wanted to credit somebody for something, going back a year is pretty much it. I'm not sure as it relates to delinquencies what you do with something over a year. Usually there's a process in which you send those to collection agencies, and then once they are able to get any money, you put a lien on the property. That's basically what we usually do. Again, back to the electronic annual report, they ask if we send our delinquencies out to collection agencies. We don't currently do that. I know the district did in the past, but that's something that needs to be worked on and dealt with.
Yep.
You know, the second or the third page in your packet is the water schedule. So under the water treatment plant, you see that in February we produced 135 acre feet. 92 of it was for Clear Creek, the rest of that was for Centerville. And if you look at the water schedule for 24-25, the right-hand column is reported actual. So that's where you have 2,384 acre feet of M&I in that last water year, and basically 500 acre feet for irrigation. So the chair had asked that, you know, we usually on the treatment operations report, we report how many acre feet, but we don't report accumulation.
Right.
So we're trying to get this added thing in here on the right.
Appreciate it.
I have a couple questions.
Uh,
So if you take a look at this memo, and this is where I had asked Morgan about estimating, because it says adjustments and credits were applied for any overestimated usage from the prior month's billing. So that just threw me when I saw that. So I know that we had a problem a couple of months ago with that, December or something, or January, and then it just happened this last month with a couple of us. So I think that was the transponder. Anyways,
Yeah.
that was the wording on that threw me.
yeah.
On the waste treatment plant operations, is it possible to get, from Bill, what Centerville uses, or what gets sent to Centerville? Because, you know, as we start this contract process now with Centerville over again, it would just be kind of nice to see what percentage they are every month.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely implied here, but it's not clear.
Yeah.
They got 43 acre feet in February.
Oh, so just subtract the 92 from
Which
the,
is,
okay, all right,
which
okay.
is 32% of the total amount. But I think we can,
So
we ought to.
I can calculate.
I know, but
Okay.
it's okay if you put it in there. It's, you can only because you're on the ad hoc committee and you actually know what happens.
Yeah.
Not everybody does, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's worth having it on there.
Okay.
Yes, and I do, you might recall last, well, first of all, any of the electronic December estimated items have all been cleared up because, you know, by January, there was actual read, and there were many customers that got credit. And then February also substantiated that. So, yes, that is confusing language in here, because it's more what she said, not what she wrote. I will just report to the board, take advantage of this opportunity, we just finished it finally, and this is, again, goes back to having just an account clerk doing all the other stuff, getting a little behind. If you might recall, when I brought to you, last month, was it? That we had some real anomaly issues, which was when a new transponder was put on there, there was an incorrect reseating of the previous, of the number, right? And all of a sudden, like I said, we had a 90-year-old lady, Miss Mavis, little sweetheart, that kept calling and says, I couldn't have used 135. So we checked, no leaks, we checked all the other stuff. Clearly, there was that issue, which was more just the number recordation when you actually put the new transponder. So Ghost Water, we dealt with that. There were basically 4 or 5 accounts that we dealt with. And some, we just said, no, you know, basically yes, if you look at your calculation from November to February, it all works out correctly. You may have had a little ups and downs, but you got your credit and then you got your bill.
For the gentleman who spoke during overtime, is it possible that a transponder could have thrown his reads off?
No.
Or an estimate or anything? I wasn't sure, I don't know the
So we
particulars
checked
of
on
this
that.
situation.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and again, it was, we came into the office, I think it was Monday, talked to staff, spent probably a half hour with our staff member. And, you know, our response, which is pretty standard, is you acknowledge that you have a leak. We do not, you know, there's nothing we can do about the water that's gone past your meter at this point. You need to come to the board and fill out a protest form, so that we can have some latitude to figure out what to do.
that's the process.
Our heart goes out to them, definitely, but, you know, we can't.
It might
Well,
be nice
we
if
can't
there are
just-
recommendations for community organizations. I don't know if he's a veteran or not,
Well,
but there are things like that that maybe we can recommend that they look into.
But we have a good deal of, I mean, I would like that we could do something, but we have a good deal of people who are on
Fixed income.
fixed incomes. I mean, I,
Disadvantages, yes.
yeah,
I mean,
it's, yeah. And
It's a slippery slope.
Yep.
yeah.
And that's the problem. We asked him if he was a veteran. We gave him contact for United Way. You know, we apologized that we couldn't do anything with Lewalk right now because they don't have it.
Yeah.
You know, if your brother is disabled, there's, you know, if they're a veteran, then you go to the VA. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do. We can offer that. But again, this is why our policy is what it currently is, because we start getting on a slippery slope. We'll do the best we can. I know how painful it can be in that situation.
Anything else on your operations?
Just committees, obviously the Ag Committee had a meeting, and they had a very good collaboration on that, but I'll let Director Johnston talk about the March 13th meeting. I just mentioned we're scheduling an April 9th meeting for those that are interested in gardening, planting, harvesting, so you have something to sell at the farm market.
Yes.
You're the chair.
Yeah, I am the chair. Right, that is a new one. So March 13th, we had our first Farmers Market Ag Committee meeting. Limited community involvement as far as present individuals, but the individuals we do have are pretty fired up and they're go-getters. So we're very excited about that. We finalized some changes to the flyer that is now approved in color and going to be going out, with bills this month. We didn't put it on there as far as, do we approve the earlier start in the heat?
Yes, we approved at the meeting, the May 10th start and the 8 to 11 time.
Okay, the 8 to 11 timeframe. So, the timeframe is 8 to 11. There's some latitude on the back end of that if the community is still showing up, still actively participating, and the vendors want to stay, then they can go ahead and stick around past that 11 o'clock window. So, it's 8 to 11 ambiguously, kind of how we've referred to that. But we were pretty satisfied with how that ended. We scheduled a actual Happy Valley Farmers Market meeting to coincide with our next Ag Committee meeting, which is on April 9th, correct? So from 5:30 to 6, we will be finalizing the details for this year's Happy Valley Farmers Market series. And then from 6 o'clock until we are done, I will ideally have someone from the Shasta County Master Gardeners here to discuss site prep, planting, growing, harvesting, everything to do with growing fruits and vegetables for the sale at the Happy Valley Farmers Market for those individuals that are interested. So I put a call into Shasta College, which is where the Master Gardener's office is. I did speak with Dennis. He did direct me to another individual that I may reach out to, depending on what the answer is from the Master Gardeners. But regardless, we will have someone here to discuss these things as they relate to Happy Valley and the district. So, with
I
that,
want to cover the other half that Dennis spoke about.
the olive growers. Yeah, you know, I might have to defer to you a little bit on that because I can't.
I'd rather you.
I can't exactly remember what Dennis did discuss. I know that Dennis did acquire a text through the UC extension
Yes.
that he's very excited about. It's very comprehensive, olive growing from A to Z, top to bottom, beginning to end, that he is willing to loan out. I think it's going to stay at the district. He's requested that if you do borrow this copy for research purposes, you sign in, you verify that you have it, and then it needs to come back. So Paul seems to be okay with facilitating that. In the meantime,
The only other aspect was, he mentioned that there had been enough olive growers who had joined CAP.
oh, that was correct.
Okay.
I will just mention, so we do have a very good book that Dennis Hosan has donated for the use. We have a photo of it on our inside of our office. We have a sign-in and sign-out sheet, and we have another one that slips into it. So we'll put it in. I know he's going to send that out to the olive folks if they want to come and get it.
Is that it?
That's it. That's what I had. Any
Finance
thoughts?
committee?
So the finance committee met, March 13th, and we basically just went over a few of the items that are already here on the agenda that we voted on tonight. Our next meeting is actually April 8th at 4 p.m., and I believe we're starting the budgeting process and hopefully get that on the ball before, Mr. Paul leaves us. We also have Pam and I are on the ad hoc committee for Centerville contract, and we will be meeting April 10th in the evening with the Centerville, two of the representatives from Centerville, and I'm sure their general manager also, to just kind of break the ice a little bit and get started with it. We've reviewed the contract pretty extensively. I also took a drive, my husband did, on Muletown, because Pam and I had talked about looking at the conduit and seeing the lines. Well, you can't see the lines. They're just the irrigation stanzas that, that go down. So there's really no need to drive out there and take a look at pipes or cement. So, yeah, but anyways, it kind of gives us an idea of some things, and going over the contract, there's a lot of things that need to be adjusted.
All right, planning and steering?
We haven't scheduled a meeting yet, so.
Okay.
Yes, I do think it would be great sometime mid-April. I know we talked about April 2nd, but that's a little probably too soon. So I'll send you an email.
All right, sounds good. Any board member items? Anything you wanna bring up? Anything from the public before we close? 8 PM, we're adjourned.